welcome to the Rehab My Soul podcast. I am Lamiski Love, and today we have a very special guest, Lynette Robinson, or Lynette Esperanza Robinson, and she's going to hang out with us, and we are just going to talk about what are we going to talk about,
We're going to talk
Lynette?
about everything. We're talking about all of it. We're talking
all
about
of it, all the
business. We're
things.
talking about all the things. It's going to be really good.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So thanks so much for being here. I am excited to chat with you. Last time we spoke, I learned about your past work and franchise work and all that
Yeah.
stuff, and then how you help
hmm
people push through their limits and get launched. And so I love talking about all of the woo woo things. You know that, or you wouldn't be
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
tell me about yourself. Tell me what you got going on. Where are you located?
Yeah. So right now I'm coming at you from southern Spain, which is really fun. I'm American, but I live most of the year in southern Spain and love it. Typically we have like gorgeous weather, but the last few days it's been cold and rainy, hence the scarf and sweater and but I'm so excited to be here and to have this conversation with you because I, like we chatted about before, I am a big believer in the power of story. I really know from not only personal experience, but also my experience with clients, like how powerful it is to share our stories, to hear other people's stories, because as we do that, one, we form connection, but we also start to see ourselves in other people's stories and the possibilities that can unlock within us when we start to hear other people's stories and experiences of triumph and success and also failure and then success and all those things. So I love that you're having me on. Thank you so much. And for all of you listening, thank you for taking time to invest in yourself in this way and to open yourself up to hearing about my journey and my story. And I know that there are things that we're going to share today that are going to be really transformational for you. So I'm excited to jump right in.
Awesome. So, I want to hear a story now that you said that.
Yeah. Yeah.
tell me about your tell me about your work, and then tell me like what pushed you to like get into this line of work.
Oh, yeah, such a good question. Thank you for asking it. So, I am a business coach and consultant, and one of my areas of expertise is helping people move their business, launch their business to the next level. So, I am an expert. I like to say, like, I'm an expert in drawing the gold out of people, helping them take their good idea and make it great, helping them really get down to the things that are going to move their business forward because there's so much information out there. There's so many things that you can do, and so many things that oftentimes are like, oh, that'd be like cool and fun if I did. But there are a few things that are going to be really powerful for you to do inside of your business that's going to help you move the needle, move to the next level. And so that's one of the things that I do. And I came to this work because I was kind of doing this in a different capacity, as you mentioned, when I was working with a franchising company. So I worked with an international franchising company as part of the team that did product development and franchisee support. So what that meant is that I was the brains behind like developing new products, like researching them, putting them together, getting them to market, including like writing marketing copy and like so many things inside of the team. But I was very involved from inception all the way to successful launch. But one of the other pieces of my role was helping our franchisees launch and scale their businesses. And so I would come into their business and train them on, products and like business things, and like oftentimes also train their teams. And I love this work. It was so fun. It was so ex- interesting and exciting. But the most valuable part of it for me was really helping and empowering these incredible business, mostly women, but business women, to really step into the business that they had envisioned when they made the decision to open a franchise. And it was just so fun. And I really discovered that I had I had like a real knack for this. And um, I chose to eventually move this into a private coaching and consulting practice because I believe that I'm able to help more people in this way. And I can also really customize this to each individual entrepreneur, really helping them shape the business of their dreams, like what they've pictured. Because I believe so fully that each one of us have something inside of us that the world needs, and that we alone are the person who can bring it to the marketplace, bring it to the world in our unique way. And that there are people out there who are called to hear your message from you. And so inside of my business, I really help people harness that power of your unique message, your unique calling, your unique path, and all the people that you were specifically designed and perfectly equipped to help empower. And it's really fun and exciting work, and seeing like those like light bulbs go on for the people that I work with is just like the best feeling. It's so great.
That's awesome. So when you're
Mm-hmm.
saying that, so you believe that in business, no matter the type of business, right? Is it specific to a certain type of business or just business in general?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, so you believe that any type of business, there are people that are waiting for that person to serve them.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it's like it's simultaneously very exciting, like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And it also kind of, I think the first time I really got a hold of this in my own life kind of made me like shaking my boots, like, whoa, that is an immense and amazing and beautiful responsibility, that there are people out there who are waiting for me
Mm.
to show up and to serve them the way that only I can. In the same way that I really believe that there are people out there that are waiting for you, that are waiting to hear your story, that they're waiting to experience like your product, your service, your thing that is so oftentimes birthed out of something really powerful in your own life. And those people need that. They need that. The way that I like to often frame it is that we to think about it like this, like your past pain, past experiences, your past is often the pivotal moment for someone else's potential in the future. So
Mm.
it's like when I am willing to lean into opening myself up to sharing my story and to like do the brave thing of being like, I've got this business or I've got this thing, and really sharing that story, like that past pain has the potential to unlock someone else's future purpose.
Ooh.
Your past pain has the potential to unlock someone else's future purpose.
All right, put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And that fires me up, and like,
That does.
and I just it's and I see it time and time again. There's so many people who they think like, oh, well, like the market's saturated, or like there's other people doing this, or mom, like, I mean, have you ever been there where you're like, should I even show up? Should I even do this?
Every day.
Have you been? Yeah, like it's so common. Like so many of us are like, oh. But here's the thing: is that when you remind yourself that there are people out there who are waiting for you, for your thing, for the way that you're going to show up and serve them and help them and like shine a bright light into their potential, their purpose. Whew, it's
I
amazing
know.
what can
That's
happen. It's amazing what can happen.
exactly, exactly. So, the way that you're able to pull this gold out of people and help connect them to their power in pushing forward with their business. I think your one of your taglines is like in high rapid speed or lightning speed or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. Like Main Street.
Like everybody wants
Yeah.
something right now. So that is completely appealing, right?
100%.
This is
Yes.
2022.
Yes.
We need it now, okay?
Right now. Right now.
So I absolutely agree with you. And I love that idea. So, in thinking about that, how does the process work for you? How does one connect with you and get that goal to come out? Is it an intuitive process? Is it like test taking? Is it personality typing? Like what's your essence of how you work with people?
Man, that's such a good question. Thank you so much, Lindsay. I love that. So this is a great question because I believe that there's a combination, and this is just my personal belief, like, and some of this is just like how I'm wired, but I think that there's this element of, like intuition and like connection and all that stuff, but you have to marry that stuff with strategy. Like I'm all here for like, I'm going to manifest this and I'm going to do that. And like, I'm here for it. I'm here for it in a big, big way. But I also really believe that you must marry that with strategic principles and action taking. Like it's not magical.
Yeah,
You
it's a
like you
little bit
have
of
to,
masculine in there.
yeah,
Everybody
like
wants
there's,
to hate on the masculine energy, but there needs to be some order before we can really get these things pumped out, right?
yeah, for sure. And so I think one of the things that I like to do with clients is listen, is really listen and help them hear themselves, hear their story, um, hear what's really going on inside, because usually when people come to a coach or consultant, it's because they've like hit a roadblock where they're like, okay, I've had this amount of success and it's like good, but I like, ooh, I like need to get to that next level. And so hearing like what's going on, like what have you tried? What haven't you tried? And oftentimes inside of those conversations, you hear a combination of what strategies haven't been applied yet, and also what's happening inside of that person, the mindset, the limiting beliefs, like what's going on inside of you that's holding you back. And so really marrying those two things is, I think, where the magic happens. And like I'm a big believer in personality profiles and some of that other stuff because they're really powerful tools, but they're not everything. Like it's a piece of the puzzle, but I think starting to understand how it is that we talk about ourselves and our issues inside of our businesses, like when we can understand that, when you can really hear yourself and almost take a step back, it makes it a lot easier to say, okay, like this is the kind of strategy that's going to help you specifically. And of course there are principles that apply to every person everywhere regardless of niche, but the way that you can apply those principles comes inside of strategies that can be customized to each individual person.
Absolutely. So, the type of clients that come to you, are they running businesses that they are the product and this is how it can be so unique, or are they running businesses that, I mean, when I think of a franchise business, which I know is your past work, but it's where you got, where you really found
Yeah.
your fire. If we're talking to an audience that is a combination of someone that maybe has a product, like a physical product that can be
Mhm.
outside of them, right? But if we're a consultant ourselves or a coach ourselves, that is more so us being the product. Can both of those business structures be unique, or do we have to follow rules because this one is an actual physical product, or all those types of things? Because I know that when we talk about bringing the gold out, how much flexibility really is there?
Yeah. Man, that's such a good question. And it's so interesting that you asked this because I was recently having a conversation with someone about this exact thing. So now inside of my business, I mostly work with service providers, but not exclusively because I have so much experience in brick and mortar and product-based businesses. And what's fascinating is that you'd think like, well, they're totally different. And in a way, they are totally different. But but they're not, because, and here's why. When you have, and so I also have owned a brick and mortar business in the past. Like when you have a brick and mortar business, you have a franchise as an example, or maybe, I've worked with people in the past who've been part of, social selling or network marketing, like where you're not necessarily the person who's in charge of the product. You can oftentimes feel as though, well, it's like this other thing. And so, like, if there's an issue, it's clearly not me. And sometimes that's true. But sometimes what's really happening is that you're not accurately identifying what's going on in your marketplace and the way that you're communicating about your specific product to your marketplace. And so what I found inside of the franchising company is that, obviously we had like our product lines, and we, as a franchising company, we want our franchisees to execute the product as instructed, because that's part of how you build brand awareness. But how you communicate inside of your communities can be customized, even when you have a franchise type model, or social selling type model, where you maybe aren't in charge of the physical product, or perhaps like you are the person who's come up with the physical product, but now it's like it's in production and you're sort of outside of that process. There's still a component where you, as the business owner, are and this is where we get to the woo, but like this is, we are the energetic force behind what's happening with that product inside of the marketplace. We obviously see the same thing a lot more magnified in service-based businesses, because the brand is oftentimes so tied into the individual person or persons that are operating the business. But the principles apply, because whether it's a physical product or a service-based business, how you're showing up inside of your business, how you're showing up inside of your community, inside of your marketplace, really has a big impact. And the strategies that you're using can be, and oftentimes need to be, customized to what's happening specific to you and your thing and your place. And there's a way that you can still have your, like, this is my franchising product, but this is how I'm expressing it inside of my community. One of the things that I often say to people who have this business model, because they want to divorce themselves from the product, from the thing that they're selling. And my encouragement to those people is to remember, like, there was a point where you had this spark, you had this moment of inspiration where you're like, oh my gosh, the people that I know, the people that I love, the people in my city, my family, my community, my whatever, people that I know, like, at some point you have said that to yourself, like, oh, they need this. And you had the courage and the bravery and the intuition and the smarts to take that thing that you've had an amazing experience with and bring it to your specific community, your specific marketplace. And so remembering that, like tying yourself back to that, because that is powerful. That's powerful. And it's the same sort of powerful movement or idea that leads service-based businesses to bring their thing into the marketplace. Like, they're like, oh, I have this thing, And so if you've been there, and I feel like almost every entrepreneur that I've talked to, regardless of their product or service space, has had that moment where they're like, oh, I know people whose lives will be changed by this. And then they take action.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Um, I see that. I've seen that. I've run a lot of different businesses in my life. And
Yeah.
I remember that there was a time that I just wanted something that I could hide behind, you know?
Mm,
And I wasn't ready to be forthcoming. I wasn't ready to be the face of the business. I wanted this product, this thing, to be what you focus on. And
Yeah.
Sometimes that doesn't work. Not sometimes, most times.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
today because we
Completely.
we
Hmm.
are I don't think markets are saturated per se because there's only one you, right? But at the same
No.
time, we have a
Yep.
lot more options and we have a lot more ease of access to
Hmm.
those options. So setting ourselves apart is
100%.
extremely important. I definitely worked with as an MLM business owner, and pre-internet versus post-internet, thinking about MLM was night and day for me because it's
Yeah.
like offline, no internet, like it's gotta be you, right? But you can just, oh, the product sells itself. Oh, it's skincare. Oh, it's this. Oh, let's smell these things, feel these feels. And the product sells
Yeah.
itself is what we want to convince ourselves. And maybe back then it was because people didn't have as much access to that type of product. But in
Yeah.
these days, the amazing things, and everybody wants to poo poo on MLMs. Like, come on. But I think they're beneficial. I think that, hold on, I've got landscaping going on. Let me go close this door. I'm sorry. I'll just edit this part out. Be right back. Come on, baby. You gonna stay out? I gotta close the door. Come on, I gotta close the door, baby. Sorry about that.
No worries.
I don't know if you could hear it, but I could hear it. It was driving me crazy.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't
that's
know
fine.
what the hurts of those machines are, but they aggravate my spirit.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I was saying that everyone wants to poop on MLMs, but I think they're so beneficial because that's where I got a lot of my training wheels from when it came to business, because you have to learn how to interact, you have to learn how to sell, you have to learn how to express things, and of course you want it to be natural, you know? So I kind of lost my train of thought a little bit, but we're going to work back to it. um so I was saying that the MLM thing, and there were businesses that I hid behind. There were businesses that I realized I couldn't hide behind. And but I wasn't ready to bring that gold out, you know?
Mm,
So what is your advice to someone that is in that position where they're kind of ready to step out, but that gold is in there, but they don't really know how to connect to it. And they don't really believe that,
yeah.
or maybe they don't believe that there is gold in there because
Yeah.
there are 50,000 reps selling this product, right? How am I
Hmm.
going to be different?
Sure. Yeah. That's such a good question. I think there are two components of this. And I think I'll address the first element, which is fundamentally we we are people created for community. We thrive inside of community, which means that we need connection for basically anything to feel meaningful. And this, what I think a lot of times we forget is that selling and buying is not like an emotionless experience. We have to remember that people buy what they want. People buy what they want, not necessarily what they can afford. People buy because because someone somewhere has been successful at awakening buyer's momentum in them and helping them awaken to what it is that they actually want, what result they actually want inside of their life. But the way that that becomes meaningful is inside of connection, inside of community, inside of this personal element. What's interesting is that you see this with like really big brands, super big brands that have been successful at making their mega brand feel really personal, and where they make it feel like you're a part of it. You are involved in the whole operation. And so I think reminding yourself of that, especially if you're new in business and you're kind of like, I don't know, um, remind yourself that like people need to hear from other people, and we are selling all of the time. All of the time. There's an amazing book by Daniel Pink called To Sell Is Human. And there he talks about how in this day and age, especially, everyone is selling. And even if your actual career is not specifically selling something, you're not, like knocking door to door selling vacuums or something, all of us are moving other people towards a decision all the time during our day. And that is the essence of what it means to sell. And so when we can connect to that from a really personal, real way, it helps sort of demystify the like I'm selling process. And so the second part of your question is like, how if you're, inside of a network marketing company or inside of a franchising company, which is, what the background that I come from, where you're like, well, how do I make this personal to me? There's like all these people, like, how do I identify that there's gold inside of me? And my first thing is like, you've made a great decision. I actually owned a franchise before working for the franchising company. And part of that was a conscious decision. Someone had come to me and said, like, oh my gosh, like you're so amazing at XYZ thing. Like, you need to make this into a business. And after a lot of rounds back and forth, I said, well, the only way I'm going to do this is if we if if I use a franchising company, because the benefit of something like a franchising company, the benefit of something like a networking marketing company, or affiliate marketing, anything where there's a turnkey element to it, it allows you to focus on the parts of the business that you're really good at and to fill in the gaps with systems and structures and products or whatever that someone else has thought of for you, has done the market research, has split tested, has put together marketing materials, has done all this stuff that they know works. And so that then you can take that and customize it to your own thing. So it cuts out a lot of time and effort and learning curve, especially for newer business owners. And what I love about this is that, kind of like you said, you in your own experience, like you were able to kind of like cut your teeth in business with network marketing, with this ability to take something and bring it to the market in your own way. And so I guess the piece of that is like, you've made a great decision because you're cutting out a lot of steps. You're really collapsing time in doing that. And you have to remember that you made it, there's a reason that you've done that. And if you're looking to try to pull the gold out of yourself, a lot of it is coming back to why you started. Why did you even choose this thing to begin with? Like, what is it about you and your story and your experience that said, I care enough about this product, this service, this thing, that I'm willing to attach myself to it. I'm willing to like hook myself to that wagon. And that's a powerful decision. And there has to be something inside of your story that's leading you to that. And when you can kind of come back to that, it helps you start to see that there's a purpose for you specifically to be repping that product or being a part of that franchising company or whatever it is that you do. And I think the principle applies whether you've come up with the idea from inception all the way to market, or you're basically stepping in somewhere along that, process and saying like, okay, I'm going to be a part of this. And I think, like you said, there's a lot of power in some of these models that sometimes get a bad reputation.
For sure, for sure. Yeah. So how can we add the lightning speed aspect to this? Because we want it now.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
So
part of your approach is it happening quicker than we anticipate? Because businesses can take a lot longer. That's stage one from 0 to 1,000 a month income can take way longer than a lot of us want to admit. So, how do you
Totally.
approach that, and how do you add that element of speed?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. And you're so right. I mean, success loves speed, right? So we want to figure out how we can collapse time in any way possible, because it's not like you can skip overtime. That's the thing that a lot of people miss out on, is that like there's there's law of time. Like we can't like undo it. You can't circumvent it, but you can collapse it and make it go faster. And that's the ticket. That's what you're aiming for. And my belief is that it's about proven strategies. It's about tapping into strategies that work, cutting out some of the fluff, some of the stuff that we feel like we should do, and instead focusing our time on things that we must do, the things that will actually move your business forward. And I think I draw a lot on my experience from the franchising model with this, because this is part of what I did for my the franchisees that I supported. Is, like I spent all this time like developing all this stuff and doing all these things and blah, 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 like all the time, so that then when I took it to my franchisees, they could immediately implement. They could, or nearly immediately implement. They could really step right into the process. And that's part of what I do with my clients and the people that I work with, is helping them step right into action taking, stepping right into action taking that's oriented towards their actual goal. Because you're right, like it can feel so much like, I mean, how many of you in business have felt like I am spinning my wheels? Like, what is happening? Why? If you ever felt like that,
For
you're
sure.
not alone. You're not alone. It's very common. But oftentimes, what's happening when you have that sensation of I'm spinning my wheels, it's because you're spending a lot of time doing things that might not actually need to be done yet. It's not that they aren't important, but you might not be doing them in the right order. You've gotten your sequence out of whack, out of balance, and that is what's causing you to spin your wheels or take longer to get to the result that you actually want inside of your business.
For sure. So, with that being said, the aspect of the uniqueness and the gold being pulled out, how does the woo play a part for you in all of this work as well?
Yeah, so good. Yeah, I love the woo. It's so good. It's one of the things that for me personally has been really freeing. I went to, I'm like, all my life I've been, very kind of type A. I went to an Ivy League school. I did like all these things. And so, and I've never shied away from hard work. I've never shied away from, um, just like really digging deep. But effort, effort's going to get you a really long way. I'm such a big, huge, massive believer in like, take action. Oh my gosh, like you must do so. You have to like be in motion in order for you to really get where you want to go. But like if you're just striving all the time, you're eventually going to get to that place of burnout. You're eventually going to get to that place where you're just like, why am I even doing this? This is dumb. Or you're going to feel like I've run out of all my good ideas, which is not true. Our minds are
Hmm.
incredible, and there's just so much. There's so much there, and it's infinite possibility inside of you. But when you're just working from effort, striving, without tapping into your whole person, I mean, I don't know how to like phrase it anyway, other way. Like you will eventually burn out. And one of the things I like to really help my clients see, or frankly, anyone who will talk to me, is that we are whole people. Because I'm so passionate about this. It's like you cannot like just be about one thing. Like all of us are these multifaceted, amazing creatures that have so much inside of us. And if we're not addressing body, mind, spirit inside of our day to day life, inside of our relationships, inside of our businesses, we're missing part of the puzzle. We're missing part of it. Like we're missing part of it, because you are not just like, I don't believe, and I know you don't believe this either, and all of your listeners, like, you're not just flesh and blood. Like, you're not just like this body walking around. Like, there's more to our experience as a person, as a human. And when we will tap into that, we'll just lean into that truth, it is amazing what happens. It's amazing. It's so powerful, because we are not we're not seeing everything if we're not leaning into the fact that, like, you have this spiritual life, this spiritual component, this, these soul needs, like emotions. And I mean, without addressing all of those things and really fueling all of those areas of our life, it makes it hard for us to show up as our best self. It makes it hard for us to collapse time and, take rapid action and to find that really fast success, because you're not, you're not firing on all cylinders, quite literally. Like, there's something that's missing in the puzzle. And for me, I think it's so important that we don't miss that piece of the puzzle.
For sure. So being holistic in our approach to ourselves as fuel for us to be holistic in our businesses is how we really
Totally.
tap into that magic, that gold, for sure. And not
Absolutely.
forgetting the actual grind, a little bit of the balance grind that we need to have to get the
Yeah,
things done.
for
So
sure.
so could you share, sorry, my cat, I wanted to see how anxious he was, if he could wait or not. So could you share a maybe like anecdotal story of like a client that came in or you met that was really far from the goal and then got to the goal, and what that was and how that looked?
Yeah, I mean, I'll actually just share my own story, because it always sort of boggles my own mind that it's like real. I'm like, what? Anytime I bump up against any sort of obstacle in my day-to-day life now, I just remind myself, like, oh my gosh, you have overcome ridiculous things. Like, yeah, things that shouldn't be real are real in walking around in your everyday life. And there's two examples. The first is this job that I keep talking about that I had at the franchising company. Um, when To make an extremely long story short, when I knew that I needed to exit my business, um, I knew that the very next step that I wanted to take was this. I was like, something inside of me just said, the next best step for you is to do this role at this company. And I was like, okay. And then as I started doing some inquiry, it was like, oh, that job doesn't exist. And then I actually had a relationship with the CEO of the company, and I talked to her about it. She's like, oh yeah, the job doesn't exist. And honestly, even if it did exist, I'm not sure that, like, I'd hire you, not because you're not qualified, but I really want someone who is geographically near me. And at the time, I didn't live in Spain. I lived on the East Coast, and she lived on the West Coast. And I was like, okay, but inside of me, there's just something like deep in my bones. I was just like, this is it. This is it. I had really decided, body, mind, spirit, like everything inside of me was orientating towards this. I didn't know how. And frankly, I wasn't really concerned about how. I was just like, whatever. I needed something. I needed this to happen. I needed something to happen, and I needed it to happen fast. Um, so I just started taking the next logical step towards this thing. And out of the blue, as it were, out of the blue, I get a phone call that's like, oh, hey, the thing, we'd love to have you. And, and it was powerful. It was so powerful, because at that time, I mean, I was going from like nothing. I had nothing. And like, I needed this thing to work, because if it didn't work, I didn't really have any backup plan. I was like, it's this thing or nothing. And, you know, I figured like, I'll figure it out if this doesn't come through. But I just kept moving in that direction. And I think that's a powerful lesson, is that when you really decide, when you really have made a decision inside of your life that you're going to do something, or you're going to have something, or you're going to be something, and you've orientated your whole self. You said like, I'm going to turn my whole body, mind, spirit in this direction, and have really released the how, or released being in the nitty gritty, and the, you know, trying to control every little thing. When you can just step back and say, I know that this is right for me, and we're going to keep taking the next best step towards that thing. It's incredible how fast it comes into your life. I mean, for me, I think it was a matter of weeks, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, really, really fast, especially going from this doesn't exist, and like, it's just like not a thing for you, to the other person, we're so excited. And I ended up playing a pivotal role in formulating this role that's now a role inside of that company. And it's exciting to think about that. And in that process, I think as I looked back on that experience, I started to pull out little lessons and nuggets of, okay, like, what did I actually do to produce this, quote unquote, magically inside of my life? And in other areas of my life, I started applying those same principles. And I think I might have shared this with you when we were chatting before. I can't remember, but I was told that I would never get pregnant, never have a healthy pregnancy, healthy child. Even, this is the best part, even with the most advanced medical interventions, I had a less than 0% chance of conceiving in any way. And I just, when I heard that, of course I was like crushed. I was like, what? But there's something inside of me that was like, there's more to this story. There's more to the story. There's more there. And even when I asked my doctor, I was like, is there something else I can be doing? Or, you know, and they're like, no, like they actually said, well, there's like one experimental treatment, like in Europe, that maybe possibly. I was like, and at the time I lived in the States. I was like, well, that clearly is not going to be it. But they're basically like, you're hopeless. Like, oh, cool.
Wow.
Great. But there just was something inside of me that was like, this is not the end of the story. This is not the end of the story. Like, I just knew that I had to dig a little bit deeper. And so the same thing, I just started taking the next best step into the direction of healing my body, healing my spirit, like healing my person, so that I would be ready mentally, physically, emotionally for this soul that I was going to birth into this world. And lo and behold, like, we got pregnant naturally, like no medical intervention, had a amazing, super healthy pregnancy, have an incredibly healthy, like thriving baby boy. He's 2 now, baby boy forever, whatever. And to me, that is one of the kind of like crazy stories. Like, obviously, like my business experience, and like that's really powerful. But I mean, everything, everyone, everywhere was pointing towards like, this is not real for you. But something inside of me said, yes, it is. And I'm sure that there are people out there who are listening. Maybe you're listening right now and you're like, I have that in my life. Maybe it's about a pregnancy. Maybe it's about a business thing. Maybe it's about a relationship. It could be anything, really. It doesn't really matter. If you're having that feeling, like, there's more to my story here. There's more to the story than what I can see right now. I implore you to lean into that intuition, and know that there is more to your story. There is more to be told, to be said, to be had, to be experienced for you. And the way that you're going to get there is not by striving, not by like freaking out and trying to like control everything, but by trusting, loving and trusting yourself enough to take the next best step in the right direction. Like, and again, for example, with like my pregnancy, it wasn't like I just like sat around and was like, I hope this happens. Like, I really did a lot of things to like clean up. I was already living a very like healthy lifestyle, but I didn't know about, my personal care products or any some of the other things. Like, I didn't, some of the vitamins that I was deficient in that I had just like had no idea about. But I also did like a ton of energetic work around releasing like old things, and like just I did it all. I was like, I'm gonna do this all. Same thing with, you know, the experience of business. Like, I just started doing everything I could think to move me towards a yes, towards that thing that was inside of me.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I
Yeah,
really agree that if you're listening and you do have that desire is there because it's meant to be there, because there's something on
100%.
the other side of it.
Oh yeah.
So that is very poignant. I love that. That is just,
Hmm.
it's very important to remember because we can get into our own heads and talk ourselves out of our greatness.
Yeah. Totally.
Because, like, who are we? Who are we to try to be great? Who are we to say that the doctors are wrong? All of these doctors, all of these visits, all of these tests. Who are we to still believe that we still deserve this thing? We are. We are here to believe that we
Yeah.
deserve it. We are here to not take those authority figures diagnoses or opinions or whatever, and even if the data backs it up, it could be the truth, but we still hold
Hmm.
our own truth inside of us. That's what that is for
Yeah.
me. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so grateful. I'll say this, like, I'm so grateful for the naysayers along the way. I'm so grateful for those, like, quote unquote negative doctor's reports, like, because so many times those things were a wake up call for me to become aware of an area of my life that needed attention that I didn't know. And I like to think of it like this, because it's like so many of us do have this experience of like, who am I to like think that I deserve this or whatever. But I would challenge you, if you're listening to this, to shift that question. Who am I? And shift it to this: who am I to not believe? Who do I think I am to not believe that this desire that's inside of me is divinely inspired? That
Yep.
this desire that's being stirred up inside of me is going to be a powerful story to unlock thousands of lives, thousands of people's potential, thousands. I mean, there are things that are inside of your life right now where you feel that stir and you have that resistance of saying, like, oh, who am I? My question for you is like, who are you not to do that? Like, how dare you think that like your your internal insecurity is big enough or or important enough to outweigh the impact that you are called to have.
Mm,
Like, the impact that you are called to have, that thing that's stirring up inside of you is a calling. That thing that's stirring up inside of you is designed to help you help someone else. But you can only do that when you choose to step into that and to leave behind those internal insecurities. And it's not to say that like you will never have a day where you're like freaking out and crying, because you will, and it's okay.
right.
It's totally like let it be, like feel through those feelings, like be in that space, but let your truth, as you were saying, like let your truth be a beacon of hope, of shining light, leading you towards the path that is for you, towards the purpose and the impact that is for you.
Mm, absolutely. I felt that in my bones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. So, I absolutely agree. Like that
Yeah.
that download, that inspiration, that spark is there for a reason. And it is not, like you said, your insecurities, they're not greater than that power that's in you, that maybe you're afraid of that power. But,
Mm,
it's just, it's for you. You have to lean into that because think about it. We could have a million other desires, but we have that one desire. Or maybe, depending upon the area of life, we could have more than one desire, of course. But you're not desiring the opposite. You're desiring that one thing because that one thing is already waiting for you. You just have to
mhm.
meet it in time. This 3D thing concept we have called time, linear time, we have to meet it there, but it's there
Yeah.
waiting for you. That's awesome.
Mhm.
So tell me about your offerings and where we can find you online.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I would love to invite any of you who are listening to my upcoming masterclass. You can grab a ticket at successacceleratorlive.com. So this is a half day masterclass where I unpack tons and tons of great content that all the things that are going to like help you take action right away. Things that are going to help you sell with more ease, with more clarity, that are going to help you clarify your messaging and your offers so that you can start making the impact with your business that you really desire. So that's one of the best ways that you can get connected with me. Of course, you can follow me on Instagram at Lynette Esperanza. I'm there. You can also check me out on Facebook. That's my same Lynette Esperanza Facebook backslash Lynette Esperanza. And then if you are an entrepreneur and you're listening to this and you're looking for a community and a place where you can connect and network and get some, free training and support, I have a Facebook group that's called the same thing, facebook.com groups backslash success accelerator live. So the same as the website. And that's a great place to just come and network and get connected. But yeah, I would really encourage you to go and check out my next masterclass. They're always so fun, so powerful. And you can grab your ticket at successacceleratorlive.com. Super easy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lynette. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your time, your energy, your expertise, and your
Mhm.
woo.
Yeah,
Because that's
my
always a
pleasure.
big
This has
part of
been so
it.
fun.
Awesome. It's been fun for
Yeah.
me as well. So great. I really appreciate your time. And I will definitely have your links in the show notes and in the description.
Awesome.
And whoever is called to your energy, then go forward, go connect with her, and get what you need to get your gold out.
Yes.
Awesome.
So
All
good.
right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.